El-Fasher, the capital of North Darfur, is the only city in the region still under the control of Sudan's armed forces, with analysis suggesting some in the RSF seek to establish Darfur as a breakaway state. As the UN Security Council now seeks a localized ceasefire that could create the wider conditions to support de-escalation across the country.
This Council has sent a strong signal to the parties to this conflict today. This brutal and unjust conflict needs to end. Today's resolution shows the Council remains committed to supporting efforts for peace in Sudan. We look forward to continuing to work across the UN, across the region, and with Council members towards this goal.
The draft resolution demands that the RSF halt the siege of El-Fasher and calls for an immediate halt to fighting in that region. It demands that all parties ensure the protection of civilians and allow them to move within and out of El-Fasher to safer areas. It calls for the full implementation of the Jeddah Declaration of Commitments, including allowing unhindered humanitarian access. It demands that all parties comply with their obligations under international law and calls on UN member states to refrain from external interference which seeks to foment conflict and instability in Sudan.
On behalf of the A3+,
Sierra Leone's envoy spoke on behalf of the A3+, the 3 African Council members and Guyana.
Our vote in favour of this draft resolution reflects the conviction that the Council must respond swiftly to the alarming situation in El-Fasher, where the rapid support forces are holding the city, hosting hundreds of thousands of civilians under untenable siege and committing unspeakable violations in the nearby cities and villages. The RSF acts did not spare civilian infrastructure, medical and humanitarian facilities. The recent attack against the medical facility of the humanitarian non-governmental organization Médecins Sans Frontières is an example of these grave violations. It's therefore imperative that the RSF halt their siege of El-Fasher and that the parties engage in de-escalation and ensure the protection of civilians.
The United States called for the Council to do all in its power to stop the fighting in Sudan.
We came together to call for an immediate de-escalation of military operations in and around the city. We came together to demand that civilians are protected and humanitarian aid is allowed to flow freely into Darfur and across Sudan, across borders and conflict lines in accordance with international law. We came together to call on all member states to refrain from external interference in this conflict, which, if it continues, will only foment further instability. And we came together to call for an immediate cessation of hostilities, leading to a sustainable resolution to this conflict.
Russia sought to explain its abstention.
We cannot agree with the proposed call to all Sudanese parties to ensure free humanitarian access, including cross-border delivery. We would draw attention of the members of the Council to the fact that the question of national border control and border crossings for any goods is a sovereign affair of the authorities in charge. Any attempt to impose artificial exemptions from this fundamental principle and even delegate the authority to a non-state actor is a flagrant impingement on the sovereignty and territorial integrity of the country. Would underscore no cross-border deliveries of humanitarian assistance without the consent of the official authorities of Sudan must and should not take place.
Moscow's envoy also warned that the current resolution did not put forward any substantive proposals on resolving the situation in Sudan. Sherman Bryce-Pease, SABC News, New York.